good afternoon, everyone. And I just want to wish everyone a happy Saturday or happy weekend. So, my name is Hiram Figueroa. I am the co-host or the creator of LinkedIn Perspective. And the reason why I created this broadcast is for one, to help me reach out to the masses. Two, since I suffer from combat PTSD, I've learned to how to, with help of others, to educate myself and verbally communicate with others as well. But the important thing and the reason why I'm on this live is for a couple of things, is to reach out to the masses. But first off, I want to thank LinkedIn for creating the broadcast that's going to be able to be reached out not only to LinkedIn Live, but to Facebook Live. And we have it on YouTube. If you like this content, share it, like it, tag it, reach out to subscribe to LinkedIn Perspective. And LinkedIn Perspective is my channel, which, we get as many subs, and we're going to be able to utilize this channel to be able to reach out to the masses. So this content is not sponsored, is not, it's censored. It's pretty much for me to be able to reach out to everyone else. And I know it's late, but normally I would do a 24-hour notice of what's going on. But I feel that right now with the situation with Ukraine and what's I've been getting the information. And first off, let's pay respects to the 4 Marines that crashed off the coast of Norway this morning, and they're unable to be found. The biggest thing that I want to be able to share is that we're constantly being involved in these, war crimes of atrocities that are going on. And I want everybody to understand that it's important to share this content and have people to be able to reach out. So if you're interested in calling, call me at 562-286-3111. That is 562-286-3111. I know it's on a weekend, so normally it's short notice, but with everything that's going on with the news and everything else, I want to be able to reach out to the people that are constantly on the social media platform so they can have a better understanding, or they can voice their opinion without being cancel culture. The other thing I want to be able to share is this. A couple of times lately, I've been able to share some posts about Ukraine. And I just recently posted one that was because of the trust and safety team took it down. It was a comparison of Putin versus looking at the mirror and the reflection of Hitler. So a lot of people understand that this is the reality, but I believe that more or less our society is very touchy about quite a few things. And those quite a few things are, one, people are being oversensitive because it's not directly affecting you. Two, be grateful that you're living in this environment and you're able to afford to pay gas and the high cost of prices that are here in the United States. Three, the other factor is be grateful that you're not being bombed and you're living out of a shopping bag, and you're not in the middle of a crossfire because we're being attacked and we're being subjected to be targets because of unconventional warfares and violations of the Geneva Convention. 5, people are sitting there watching the news, but I don't think they're really paying attention to the significance of how we're going to wind up being involved directly here in the next couple of weeks. So all due respect to the President of the United States, we understand that he's called out Putin as an atrocity to the war crime. But at the same time, we have thousands of military people just standing by, and we're providing over billions of dollars to the Ukraine people. And most likely, we're going to be involved. Just give it a little bit of time. It's the reality of it. The other part that I want to be able to address is this. The significant factors that are happening right now is just recently, within the last 24 hours, there is Russians sending dumb bombs 43 miles away from the Polish border. Now, we all understand that within the last 4 weeks, Poland has been able to absorb at least 15 million, well, about 5 million is increased to 15 million refugees. Now, Understand this. You're not paying attention to the significance of what's going on, because if we do our geography and our history, if you pay attention to a big state called Alaska, and there's a sea called the Bering Sea, we're about 100 to 50 to 100 miles away from there. So what makes you think that this can't happen to us? Not creating a hostile environment, but an awareness situation. We all know that Putin has just been planning this for a number of years, because he invaded Ukraine in 2014. He was able to take apart Crimea. So now, the biggest thing that's going on right now, as I stated to you, is that Putin has nowhere else to go but to push through and try to, and I mean try to, take over the capital of Kyiv, Ukraine. Now, I spoke to a gentleman named Oris, who is a national from Ukraine, and he's been telling me quite a few things that are going on. For you people that are out there right now, did you know the casualties of the war are pretty much higher than the Afghanistan war? The biggest thing that you can honestly say is this. The casualty of war from Russia is anywhere from 14,000 to 15,000, still going up high. Their body armor, the armored tanks, helicopters, all those transportation have taken a massive casualty, a massive casualty, a lot of losses. And then you have the people of Ukraine who are demonstrating patriotism to a point that they're able to understand how significant it is to stay there and die and fight for their country. So with that being said, I'm going to go with a couple of comments that are over there because it's piling up. So I'm just going to be able to go there and just give everybody acknowledgement and pretty much say hello. And if you're interested, feel free to chime in at 562-286-3111. We are talking about the situation in Ukraine. We're talking about how us as United States American citizens are directly involved. The other thing is, what is your thoughts about China being involved? And the other thing that I really need to address is how this plays a significant part in our economy, and as more or less the sense of freedom and patriotism that we all been lacking here, because we've been pretty much comfortable here in the United States. I think that for the most part, I know that too many of us are too concerned. We're very grateful that we, after 3 years, the masks have been able to drop. But guess what? In Los Angeles today, the gas prices originally have hit $7 in downtown Los Angeles. It's about a $7.25 right now for unleaded, $7.45 for mid-grade, and $7.69 for super unleaded. So the cost of the barrel of gas went down under $100, and then it went up over $100. So my concern to you and to me is that everybody should be really paying attention to what's going on. And I think that with all the nonprofit organizations that are being significantly put out there for Ukraine here in the United States, we should be able to do something. Now, the power of social media is more or less, if you understand that Ukraine has shut down Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. They haven't been able to shut down Telegram because Arnold Schwarzenegger is pretty much utilizing this to be able to reach out to the Russian public who are significantly socially ignorant to what's being transpired by Putin. The other thing is there's a lot of animosity that's going on because the Russian people are stating this is not their war. So here's what's going on that I'm paying attention to. And this should pay attention to you. This should really hit you home for a lot of things. And I can honestly say this. How can you sit there and watch TV and not think about watching kids crying over their moms because they've been bombarded and they're covered in a bloody wet sheet. The other part is there's been, if you look at the situation with the homeless situation like we have here in the United States, think about how, and I just watched today, how in the cities of little towns of Ukraine, they're creating homeless cities, homeless encampments, but they've been able to create their ingenious Molotov cocktails, different types of booby traps, and different types of equipment to be able to withstand the Russian army. And for us, we should take a page of that and understand that we're not too far from that. I can honestly tell you, this is another version of Vietnam, right? Unfortunately, and Afghanistan again. And the reason why I say that is because the NATO countries are deeply involved in this. And a lot of us are not fully aware of the significance of how this is going to affect us directly here in the next couple of months. I promise you this, it's going on 4 weeks. Putin's not going to let loose. He's a piranha. He's very upset. He underestimated the people for Ukraine. He underestimated the people from the NATO nations, and he totally underestimated the support from the United States. We're providing billions of dollars, which is rightfully so, because now this is not just about us. This is about a global impact that's going to affect us directly here in the next couple of weeks. Understand this. This is how it got started in the Vietnam War. This is how it got started in Iraq. And this is how it got started in Afghanistan. If people don't understand that, you need to see what's going on. I see the connections between the communist regimes and the communist countries. Communism is not compatible to the democracies. That is correct, Wilson. And then that's why I want people to able to express their concerns and voice their opinions without being in cancel culture. Now, in the beginning of the show, I posted quite a few posts on LinkedIn. I was restricted for about 8 hours because it was supposed to be, hey, I'm creating bullying and everything else. So with reaching out to the Trust and Safety Committee, they took a couple posts down. And I explained to them about the gas prices, and people are just cursing up. I just happened to be selected and cancel out. The other part was a post that I created, and I put it on Facebook, of Putin looking out in the window on the train and the reflection of Hitler. So we all know that these atrocities and these war crimes are just coming from our new version of Hitler in quite a few things. Let's get real, people. We're reliving World War II 75 years ago. So if people don't believe about the Holocaust, they should read the books, because the Holocaust, we have Jewish people, and the president of Ukraine is Jewish as well. So if there's some significant parallels about that, you know, we should be able to understand why we're doing this. So let me read what's going on here. Can we say that Joe and Putin are colluding in propaganda and diversion, or COVID has warned? This is a coup upon the Western ideas and values, nothing more, nothing less. Well, I can agree with you on that. So let's see what else we're talking about. What about the neo-Nazi claims? Putin wants to be removed, but it's all a propaganda by Putin. Correct. As we're paying attention to the propaganda, he's creating propaganda to get people amped up and feeding the people from Russia false information. He's overpromising and under-delivering for a number of reasons, right? Because the population of Russia has been cut off from the real world. As I stated before, the importance of this is, if Arnold Schwarzenegger was able to send a message just like this virtually with Russian captions on it to reach out to the Russian people, you know, they're going to try their best to create a false propaganda. Let me read this from Ted. Failure to plan is a failure to non-existing plan. Read The Art of War by the famous Chinese general 5,000 years ago. Correct. And there is more silver bullets that win the war. Mr. Putin does not have enough to take on the whole world. My humble thoughts. And you're right, Ted. And this is why we're sharing these thoughts, because I believe that this platform needs to not to be commercialized, right? It's not sponsored, it's not commercialized, but pretty much it's advertised by somebody like myself that's creating sweat equity to pour back into you as you've been able to pour back to me. For the people on Facebook as well, you should be able to realize that, Facebook is good to have fool around with, but now we have a serious situation. And if you really think about it, ladies and gentlemen, think about how much social media that we are privy to, that we've been able to understand and enjoy, and think about what's happening to Russia and think about what's happening to Ukraine. People are just hiding in underground cellars and bomb bunkers, and they're using cell phones and they're improvising and they're cut off from the world. And a lot of people don't understand how well we have it, but we're too busy complaining that we're not getting a raw deal. And understand this, ladies and gentlemen, I agree with you with the gas prices, but this has been going on for quite some time. What's being diverted is the war, and everybody's using it. But come on, if you really think about it, the government, all due respect, it's not going to tell you everything, right? I work for the government, but I can honestly tell you there are things that are confidential that are not there, that people can understand what's going on. We're being subjective to being, eating the end results of high food prices, gas prices, home prices, everything else. And everybody else, let me read this. Remember the plot of 4 million Cambodians. Correct. Khmer Rouge. I remember that. Thank you, Ted. So let's talk about Putin will go down in escalation and bolder than he's a dictator bigger than Stalin. Correct. And he's making a name for himself. But it's important that what are you going to do about it? People that are very successful on these platforms, right? You can be able to donate it to nonprofit organizations to help people in Ukraine. If you like this content, share it, like it, tag it, make sure that it's well known, and make it known that it's important to have virtual town halls like this. Hitler killed 6 million Jews and that's right, Terrence, and people don't understand that. You hit it right on the head. 6 million Jews died, and you can never take away the memories of that. We still have survivors from the Holocaust. And here in Los Angeles, we do everything to be able to prevent those situations. And the elder people always state, never forget the Holocaust. And currently we're living it right now. Tony, this is what we had talked about in 2018 by university professor. We didn't listen, but we probably wouldn't listen now. Well, this is exactly what happens, Tony. We get too comfortable on what's going on, and we don't think it's going to affect us, but right now it is affecting us. Armando, there are more than we know about the truth, better than we understand how to move forward as Americans. Together we deny the leftists. I agree, and that's why we have to have this conversation and share your thoughts, because I'm going to be able to facilitate it. Terrence, Putin is on track to be around half of the number of current civilians killed per day, which is 2.7 million. Man, your math is good. My math might be a little bit off, but feel your check. Well, I agree with you, man. It's another situation where it's going to be more or less up there in the millions. We have a lot of Ukrainians that are dying left and right, but they're kicking butt. So, Ted, another memorial is the Washington Memorial. Remember all the families. Correct. So that's pretty much interesting. Armando, Texas, thank you for this podcast. Anytime, man. If you like this content, share it, like it. This content is brought to you by LinkedIn Perspective. It's also on YouTube Live. If you want to subscribe to LinkedIn Perspective, go to YouTube and you'll look for my name on Hiram Figueroa. That's my email address is hyramfig@gmail.com. You will see LinkedIn Perspective. Make your comments known, subscribe it, and let me know what your thoughts on. This is based on content. This is not a regular show. So what I'm doing is getting enough information to help people understand where we at with this type of content and the current events. Yes, we do. My friend is Rosemore and area Holocaust survivor, and we should respect the elders. None can say how far Putin will go. As an ex-KGB, he is addicted to drugs. Interesting. Botox. Now totally in his madness about his goals. Zero sympathy. Holocaust seems to be back. Mankind through this will never happen again. That's a great point, and I like that because it's important that people understand different viewpoints. Brent, great perspective for different views. Of course, that's why we're having a virtual town hall to be able to explain and understand what the importance is. And everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has a right to the voice of opinion. We can agree to disagree, but not disrespect each other, you know? So what's up, bro? How you doing? It's pretty much it. Christine, I'm so glad that we have this platform to share on that. It's hard to know what is to believe in these situations. Christine, you make a valid point. And the important is as you gather information, you want to be able to condense it to a point where you can be able to explain it to people and understand it so that it can be more relatable to them. And then they can be able to reflect on the conversation and give their opinion because it's important to express your concerns. Ted, see the killing fields? Yes. True story. You know, true story about the Cambodian massacre of Khmer Rouge. And people don't really understand because they've forgotten about this. What's up, Paul? Hi, sir. I'm sickened by the situation, personally, as many. The fact remains, the facts are, there are not enough currently in, hold on, let me read it. The facts are that this is not currently an American issue. This is true, but we're involved because we're like brotherly love. It's more so much of a European problem. I agree. You're Polish, Ukrainian, and Russian descent. I can respect that. Now, here's my question to you, Paul. I get what you're saying, but look what's happening to the society right now. How can we not allow ourselves to be involved in a humanitarian version of what's going on? We're not letting us, you know, you're just watching somebody get killed. So how are we going to be able to do that, right? If you really think about it, how are we going to be able to do that? You're going to allow that to happen? I know it's a European issue, but unfortunately, politics do prevail, you know? So let me give that. Unfortunately, there are people in that this situation we're living does not affect their lives. Correct, Adam, but we need to be able to bring situation awareness on this as well. Joseph McClellan, hi. Joseph, United States is classified more intel. There are more people, even, let me read that, more intel than even before the information in the public. Free world and sidetrack Russian false flag attempts to go on Ukraine, provide Russians an excuse. It's a fault of a result. Our public assessment more than 6 weeks before the invasion was Putin intended to take the entire country. That is a fact. Our response with weapons and being able to marshal Western opinion, indeed the world is on our side, it's because we're not provocated. Well, I could get that, you know. Relative to the map agree upon the League of Nations to end this war. United Nations already know about it, but I don't think they're pretty much putting it because they're anticipating that Putin chills out and listens to anybody. Homeboy is not going to listen to anyone. He is not. If you do the synopsis and if you do the fact finding of how Hitler despised the Jews and he was head over heels and making sure that every Jewish person was persecuted. Don't you see the variables, the alignments of same stories? He's doing the same thing to the people of Ukraine. He's attacking non-military locations. He's attacking hospitals. He's attacking shelters. There's a violation of the Geneva Convention. He's using armored weapons, attacking unarmed women and children standing in line to get food, you know? So yes, this is a world issue. That is right, Ted. And that's why I'm posting it up here, because too many people are pretty much caught off with the, it's not my problem. It's not affected. And trust me, if it was happening in the United States and I had to leave this house that I work for to be attacked by somebody else, we'll be having some serious issues, you know? this is a prelude to World War III. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And people need to read your comments so they can see that. And that's the nature of this broadcast podcast. Putin could have tried to solve things in a diplomatic way, which is true, but he's inventing reasons why to invade to a peaceful democratic country, which is true, and force us to not get involved by warning us with nuclear weapons. That is absolutely true. He's holding it. He's punking the whole world because he's a nuclear power. And understand this. We don't underestimate him because of nuclear power, because we don't know what's going on, but you hit it right on the head. There will never be a real threat for him from NATO. Well, I think NATO has sick and tired of his BS, but then politics does prevail. Joe, Putin is waging a shock and awe, which is correct, war. He's bombing buildings. He says the children are Russians, which is correct. He kills people under the bread lines, which is correct. He's taking over hospitals using top floors as sniper nests. That is definitely correct. He has bombed food stores, blood banks, and there he goes after those scaring nuke plants, which is definitely correct. Putin is a lonely KGB desk jockey. His superiors don't trust him in the field. Let's dispel the myth that he is a hard-nosed KGB agent, which I totally agree. And you make a lot of sense, Joseph. And this comes down to KGB defectors, and it's not fake news. Great analogy. So let me see what else. Marianne, why do you think the press stopped covering the information about Russia and Ukraine? I believe that a couple things. There's been 2 people that have gotten killed out there as journalists, right? The other thing is that they're subject to be able to be captured and used as a pawn to be able to use leverage as well. And the other thing is he's created a digital iron curtain to be able to keep us away from it, to be able to reprogram the Russian public to believe that he is doing the right thing by attacking Ukraine. That's my opinion. Paul, humanitarians certainly, however, the military we are not ready, sadly. That's a good point. I agree, because we don't know what we're getting into, but the intel is not providing enough intel for us as well. Ted, read Tsar Nicholas based on for the World War II. All right, we can talk about that. Terrence, Hitler killed 6 million innocent civilians during the World War II. Putin is on track to hit 2.7 million roughly, with the civilians being killed per day in the current rate. I might be off in the math. No, you're fine. You're fine. Trust me, you're fine. History repeats itself. Correct. And that's why I am sharing this on this content. And the reason why I share this, for people like yourself to be able to voice your opinion without being canceled. Friends, this is barbaric, evil, and it's going on. And we need to have some means to stop this genocide. This is sickening that we allow a person to do this. Well, this is true, friends, and that's why people like yourself should be able to express your concerns without being canceled. And that's why, what can you do to be able to do to help the people from Ukraine? Donate, help, give something back. Yes, he's a thug. He's a coward. He's a professional coward because he's using everything possible on his end to influence a country that doesn't know better because they're ignorant by society. And this is true. The White House Democrats are behind the wall of this war, but with a special interest. And this is true. He even sacrifices young soldiers. This is definitely true because the morale of the Russian soldiers are really low, and they don't understand the mission. They don't have the military structure. They might have quantity of military people, but there is no leadership skills, leadership principles that would be able to support to win the war and to be able to counter Ukraine's counterattacks because the Ukrainians have more of an understanding and they have more of a fight than the Russian army. For him, no human being seems to matter. This is correct. That's why we're dealing with a madman, and this is a global issue, and we should be able to pay attention. If you like this content, share it, like it, tag it. If you like this content, we are on YouTube Live. Please subscribe to YouTube, and the subject matter will be more or less LinkedIn Perspective. It allows people for yourself. You can copy it, paste it, subscribe it, share it, and then, make it more popular because we're pouring back into you as you pour back into me. Ted, not following the nuclear war non-province agreement by JFK. Well, yeah, this is where we go back with the missile crisis in Cuba for a lot of you people that haven't been around. And that was pretty much an executive order that was coming back from JFK back in the day. And a lot of people don't understand that as well. Steve, to be fair, President Xi advised Putin that every citizen will fight them. Therefore, every citizen would have a weapon and is combatant. IG is they are shooting down from schools and apartment buildings. Russia is knocking it down. Well, that's true, Steve. The biggest thing that I can honestly say to your point is that, the people from Ukraine has been able to improvise guerrilla warfare in a number of ways with simple things that they've been able to withstand compared to the Russian army with all their combatants, weapons, and technologies. Isn't there a way to cut off the finances for the families of Switzerland and put them in the pressure where they are? You don't know whether it's a hierarchy or care. Well, I couldn't tell you that, bro, but I know that, how can I tell you? Based on the information that I've been able to gather from the news, they've been able to financially shut it down to a certain extent, but we have other countries that are willing to support them, and they're just being careful. China is one of them. And then, the administration have warned them, but think about it. There's Syria, there's North Korea, there's Iran, there's Belarus. People are worried about their geographical escalations by the influence. I believe Putin already has escalated to the scale where he's mercilessly targeting children. That's on point, Terrence. That is right. He has no regard for human life or humanity. And that is the reason why we're having this LinkedIn Perspective today, because it's really about humanity. How can you witness something like this and not allow your feelings to be affected based on this as well? Ted, we cannot know what we have in our country until we go to another. And this is the point. And you hit it right on the head, Ted. It's important to understand that we are so blessed by right now. Look, I'm on social media. Think about it. People in Russia are being arrested and given 10 to 15 years because they were demonstrating. How does that happen here in the United States? It doesn't. That's why we call freedom of speech. And then freedom is never free. It's completely earned. Adam, Russians' young soldiers were fooled to believe that they were involved in the military exercise. Of course, this is why they were being voluntold. Russians will be pretty much voluntold by pretty much doing what they need to do, Ted, Miami remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis. Correct. A lot of Cubans haven't forgotten about the Cuban Missile Crisis. And then we're talking about the 80s, the Marielitos that were pretty much exiled to leave Cuba as well. That's another situation also. Clever. How you been? Hi, I'm back from Colombia. Hope you're doing well, Chief. The militants are trying to go on the UK, trying to go to the Ukraine to help. I had to share this. I had to share that. It was a bad idea. No, we have a lot of people that are volunteering. To your point, we have a lot of people that are volunteering. We have prior militaries that are volunteering that are going to Ukraine to fight as mercenaries to be able to do that, to help that. And we have other countries as well. We have different countries that people are actually driving and volunteering to fight the Russian onslaught that are people being attacked in Ukraine. Paul, Does anyone have an understanding of the Russian tactics and that their military is largely composed of conscripts? Putin is boxed and his limited options, much like Japan was. That's a very good point because we're cutting away from his finances, supplies, logistics, food, ammo, everything else, so this medical stuff, while Putin is trying to cause the people in Ukraine to be in a curfew for 35 hours. So imagine you're in a bunker for 35 hours while the bombing is going on. And you have kids and women and children, kids and elderly people, and kids that are suffering from cancer and they're having mental health. Putin is going to be eliminated by his own insiders. You would think, right? But let's see who's going. Let's see if somebody is bold enough to be actually do that, because then he or she will be a superhero. I believe, to your point, it would take more than one person to be able to corral him, to be able to execute and take it over. That's what I believe. Terrence, I think it's funny that people think it's not affecting their lives. What do they think will happen when the thousands of businesses in Russia that hired Americans, good point, employees shutter their business and decide to worry about their own bottom line? That's an excellent point, Terrence. And people don't understand that we've been pretty much globally working with other countries as well. And for a long period of time, we've done business with Russia, Cold War, everything else. And people, there have been Americans in the Russian country up there in Moscow and, and other parts of Russia working for the Russian government, Russian businesses. Peter Dashkin is certified nutritionist. This is what everyone here hopes. Well, I believe that everybody's opinion is valuable. Remember Stalin. Of course, we remember Stalin. That's why we're having this discussion, to be able to educate people and give you airtime to be able to see this. Clever. Colombia is going through the same. And that's right. Colombia is another country that's supporting Russia. I forgot about that. I appreciate that, sharing that with you. Their own political issues, because they have the ex-FARC member who is running for president. So Colombia has their own issues to attend, not get involved in any international affairs. Colombia is another talk show, bro. We got to be able to talk of that. Ted, many lives terminated by Joseph Stalin. But the whole thing that I can honestly tell you, we got somebody else that's terminating a lot of innocent people, and that's happening over there in the Ukraine. Terrence, Joseph, I'm not going to butcher the guy's name, is the one with the political issues. He has maintained a strong run to leader for Russia. How long? It's pretty good that he's a desk jockey, I say. All right. We should not being so contentious, sir, but simply pointing out the facts, brother. Hey, no, I agree with you. I support you. I'm not even going that route. It's just a matter of sharing your opinion and to be able to educate people so people can voice their opinion, because you don't see that in the news, right? People are just controlling the news as well. 40 million lives. This is correct. Sorry to repeat myself. You're good. It's important that people reach out there. And I think the biggest thing that you need to understand is this. Look, you're home, you're relaxing, you're watching the news, but you're not participating. You can't even imagine, you can't even fathom that you're going to be attacked. You have less than 5 minutes and pack your belongings, and you're more or less 2 shopping bags and half a tank of gas away from leaving an area that's being attacked. How are you going to react? Have you seen the news where kids are just crying because they don't have a mother or father, and they're walking anywhere from 400 to 600 miles to go to a train station, to go to another country, because their parents one is fighting the war and the other one has died, or vice versa? You can't understand that. If you have loved ones and you see where you're living at right now, can you ever imagine you being attacked and your pretty much your freedom has been violated, and you have someone like Putin who's going to dictate. Let's put it this way, let's use a hypothetical situation. How would you feel if, yeah, go ahead. If Putin told Biden he was going to take over this country, right? Just because. Now, a lot of Americans understand that because we have so much freedom. But think of it that way. So let me see where Clever is. Yes, that's true. When I opened the podcast about it, I want to invite you to attend. Not to mention Colombia is going through the presidential election, which I totally understand, which is creating massive violence through the whole country as we speak. But you're right. That's another topic back in Europe. But no, it's comparison because, Clever, the country itself is still supporting the Russian government. Regardless of whether they're one of the top 10 countries that are supporting the Russian government. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it, So that's why I'm saying that. Susan, are we sure that Russia is doing all the bombing? Yes, we are. Russia is definitely doing all the bombing because national intelligence prove it. If you look at different channels, they'll be able to explain that as well. You have prior military field grade officers that have served in Iraq and Afghanistan that have witnessed this. They have enough intel that's classified to sustain it. We have satellites. We have things like of that nature that can support that statement for you, Susan. Putin did exactly the same thing with Georgia. That is true. He used the same pandemic. He used the time of the pandemic to prepare for the war, which is very true, and call it an operation. He was a killing machine and instrumental with others. That's absolutely correct because he took the opportunity and he capitalized it and he exposed it to the point where he justified his actions and he misled everybody else and he created false propaganda. Please let me know date and time I will attend. Well, you guys can, you and Clever just DM each other so that way you can reach out to me. Venezuela is one supporting the Russian government, not Colombia. But sorry, I had to correct you. Not a problem, brother. Not a problem. Don't have to correct me. I'm not a journalist. I'm just someone that's pretty much sharing my opinions from a military perspective and then a subscriber. And more or less, for you people, ladies and gentlemen, understand this. It's important to really reflect on what's going on, right? We're 4 weeks away already into this battle. We're watching it from the sidelines. Gas prices here in the United States is already up there. If a lot of people who live in California, Los Angeles County has already hit $7. So that's totally unheard of. Well, a lot of us, we have, big vehicles, so you just have to fill it up a tank. Some of us has 2 vehicles like myself, and we utilize one, and I keep it half tank full all the time to minimize the cost of spending money of getting gas because we're at the mercy. The other thing is the cost of food, and vehicles. People don't understand that the sticker prices and everything else. And then the other thing is countries, let me correct myself. Companies that have been able to support Russia, more or less Netflix, T-Mobile, or other countries like UPS have been able to stop shipping with them. So we're more or less taking away from the point of not supporting the Russian government at all. So I am in contact with a young Ukrainian in Kirsten. The morale of the Russian soldiers is low. So Russians took it to the airport, and Ukrainians are fine. Thank you for applying that. So yeah, I understand. No problem. I had to let you know that Venezuela is supporting Russia. All right, brother, not a problem. So true. The Lord is my supervisor. I spent $78 for the tank. Yeah. Not even $78 would give a more or less fill up your tank anymore. Catherine, I am here learning the truth and not the stuff that the news is what us want to hear. I'm learning a great deal. Thank you. Well, we're just getting a synopsis, and we're keeping it simple. It's like more or less we're having coffee, right? And we're having coffee, and we're having a discussion, but we're more or less we're sharing thoughts and doing fact findings, and then really paying attention to the situation. Because if you really pay attention, the news is willing to, some news channels are willing to give you what you want to hear and stress you out. More or less, I've been able to do what I need to do and give you the kindergarten version of it that's more or less user friendly. Kevin, we need to understand that what is factual and what is real. Both sides have actors, which is definitely true, and we have broadcast misinformation, which is definitely true as well. At the end of the day, civilians are suffering, shown the drones, and we need to understand what's happening. Fuel prices went up a long time before the invasion. That's absolutely true. As did inflation. We cannot blame this mess on the invasion. That is true, Kevin, and that's why I'm getting at. They're using this as a side note, as smoke and mirrors, to be able to deflect it, because this has been ongoing for a number of years. If you go back 3 years with the pandemic, where the gas prices were down to $1.99, or some places in the Midwest like 89 cents, we are reaping what we're sowing as well. Cover indeed. The news is 10% correct. Correct. Terrence, what you got? Most people are likely to approach this situation with reason and logic. Put yourself in the minds of a child killer and approach this situation again, and the results may vary. That is definitely true, and that's why a lot of people need to understand how important it is to have a discussion and reflect on it, instead of the broadcasters, who are professionals, who are journalists, are given the information, they scope it in the way, they deliver the message in a way where people find it appealing, and they word it nicely. I don't do that. Results may vary. Correct. Okay, here you go. Here in Germany, it's very expensive, but in comparison to Ukraine, we are all fine. Well, thank you for that. Tina Marie, what are you saying? Thank you for the link to allow us to have the freedom of platform. Very interesting. Well, that's the whole purpose of that, Tina. We are utilizing this platform for individuals, not only on LinkedIn Live, but Facebook Live, but LinkedIn on YouTube and LinkedIn Perspective. And it allows people to subscribe on LinkedIn Perspective. And you could get this channel. You could copy the link, paste it, make some comments, and it's on YouTube Live. It's on YouTube, LinkedIn Perspective. You'll find my name up there, and you can subscribe it. If you want more content, let us know, because I strictly focus on the content. I don't like to repeat myself, because everybody gets old after a while. But now in today's situation, we need to be able to understand and catch up to speed in the last 4 weeks. I mean, it's important that we understand that. Yes, information and informative. Okay, cool. I'm going, everybody's moving fast. I really enjoy these type of perspective. Well, it's important that we share this, because it's like having a conversation. It's more or less having a discussion. I'm not getting mad at you. You can't get mad at me. We're both in the situation. We're having a debate, right? We're having a debate, and now we're comparing, and that's how the perspective should. Salud. We're comparing notes, and we're having a discussion and see what we could come up with, because the news is not normally telling you the truth. Yes, more platforms need to do this. Well, like to be continually to do this. That's why if you like this content, share it, like it, tag it, and subscribe to, I want to personally thank LinkedIn, the safety and trust team that is constantly monitoring my news feed, and they're watching as we speak, and pretty much the pre-recording. But I want you guys to be able to share it and tag it, and thank LinkedIn for that, because they've been able to give me the vehicle to be able to utilize that, not only go on Facebook Live, but on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So it's important that people understand that there's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom to bear arms as well. I can't pronounce that, so I'm not going to go there, Ted. So I'm pretty much in there. I am thankful that I have a venue to express my opinions. You don't have to agree with me, or believe me, but the real search is not to Google and come up with where they shut down your disclosures, shut down the liberty. And that's the whole point, Joseph. It's to understand that you have an opportunity to be able to express your opinion. I'm not going to be very judgmental. Once people are very respectful and not attack me in a way where, I'm creating a propaganda, we're good. Able to facilitate everything else so people can understand how important it is for the freedom of speech. And the biggest thing people need to understand is when you voice your opinion, Joseph, you're not being arrested in Russia and you're not given 15 years because you expressed your concern. That's just like the newscaster that happened in Russia that was protesting and now she's facing 15 years, right? Ralph. Well, thank you, Ralph. I appreciate it. America. And then pretty much America itself should be the land of the free and understand how important freedom is. You guys talk about crap about the freedom, but you got a lot of angry veterans right now that are watching this. And, they're still reeling from the situation in Afghanistan. Pretty much Afghanistan and Ukraine are two different things, but look at what happened. 20 years of 9/11, right? Iraq and Afghanistan. And look what happened, what we had to do, right? We didn't want to be there, but a lot of people paid their lives. So now here's a situation which is not to take away Iraq and Afghanistan, but more or less a global situation with NATO and everybody else is involved. You should really pay attention to this because a lot of nations in Europe are pretty much paying attention. Freedom is everything. That is correct, Rick. Freedom is everything. And life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That is definitely correct. This war is an attack on all of us and an attack on democracy. And I appreciate you sharing that because people need to understand how important it is to understand the dynamics of the freedom of speech, the dynamics of democracy, the dynamics to be able to express yourself without being persecuted, thrown in jail, being handcuffed, being thrown out of your families, like burn down your home. A lot of people forget that. And people if they haven't done their homework, if you look at it 75 years ago with the Holocaust, 6 million Jews, right? People went, don't you think they have Jewish people over there in Ukraine? Now, let me tell you something. During the course of Afghanistan and other countries, there's people from Africa, Nigeria, Afghanistan, other countries that have fled to Ukraine to be able to get away from the war-torn countries that they currently live in, right? So I want to personally thank Poland for more or less to set the platform to be able to accept people from Ukraine and saying you're safe. But there's 15 million people that have been able to make a mass exodus from Ukraine. And how do you justify that? How do you do that? Whoops. Russia was bogged down in Afghanistan. I agree with you. Oh, what's going on here? Let me see. War crime attacks. Let me see. This is going to be worse and get worse before it gets better. It's going to be involved in the world taking a madman like Hitler. I agree with you. And that's why we need to understand that. And that's why it's important for you, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to understand and express your concerns, because as you make your comments here on LinkedIn Perspective, on my YouTube channel, LinkedIn Perspective on Facebook Live, your comments are very important for people to actually really read what you're expressing so people can understand the importance of what it is for the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, that understands. As a military person myself, as a Persian Gulf combat veteran as well, who supports veterans, community advocate for veterans and veterans' rights, is to be able to utilize the platform in the business world as well. You have to understand that people, let me put it this way. You can't tell me that this is not a business thing when we have a war. I think a lot of people have gotten away from how war has affected not only humanity, but the finances and businesses as well. And people have gotten away from that because they focus on LinkedIn should just strictly be business. And it's not just business. It's about personal leadership. It's about personal development. It's about people who served in the veteran community, who are prior service. There are people who have actually become entrepreneurs because of the land of the country that we currently live in. So people don't understand how significant this plays into us as human beings, as American citizens, as entrepreneurs, as employers, as parents. All those things play a significant part in what we're watching here today, and when it comes to the atrocities in Russia. Let me get back to Ted. Many Russians' lives conscript with soldiers lost in Afghanistan, short-lived USSR. I agree. It's an unfortunate thing, but yes, we might be involved in another war. Let's pray it doesn't go to a nuclear war. Rick, you're absolutely right. And, I got a funny feeling this guy is not playing with a full deck. He's making bad business decisions based on emotion. And people need to understand that for a number of reasons. When you have somebody in power that's been able to manipulate the country and has been able to plan this for a number of years, let me tell you, and it goes back to the Obama days when he first came in as a KGB agent. Now, I'm not a subject matter expert, but I can honestly tell you this. This has been going on for a long period of time, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you're watching is this true version of a passive-aggressive person who's creating a massive hostile work environment, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole world. He's constantly bullying. He's utilizing this to his point, and he doesn't care. He's telling on himself that he doesn't care. If he's telling on himself in front of your face, what is that to tell you how he's manipulating the Russian army and telling them to pretty much voluntarily and do everything else? Terrence, since you mentioned China, the president just spoke about the issue of China potentially providing aid to China. I agree with you, and he's been forewarned. They called him out on it. Here's a freaking card. You do this again, we're just going to do something. So I don't know what's going on from the administration. We're just watching from the sidelines, right? So we don't understand how significant this is, to the point where people need to understand that this is going to affect us. It is affecting us. It has affected us. The only problem is that because of the high gas prices and inflation and all these, things that are happening to us, they're front loading it using the war. Now, and I know it takes a long time for financial situations to correct themselves or even get worse. And I think it's a high consumption of a number of things. Let me read this. Regarding the corruption, you see in YouTube Vega, the video Omega, and True Story. Well, I'll check that out. Rick, how far will he go? Will he stop at Poland? Hey, that's a good question. If you really think about it, as I was saying, the guy's pushing the envelope to a point where he doesn't really care, right? So he's a bully because he's never really got his ass kicked, right? So the definition of a bully, right? Understand that. We'll keep it very simple. He or she knows they have that intimidating factor. He or she knows that they can manipulate or project something that is false, right? Which is fear. False evidence appearing real. That's what it is. A fear factor. So he's imposing his fear on people, and he's utilizing, and he has an inner circle that's supporting him. But for how long? If you really think about it, think about the veteran community who are itching to redeem themselves from Afghanistan and Iraq. But at the same time, here we have a situation, diplomacy that's being played out here. And we're understanding that this could be a nuclear war. So everything is with kid gloves. So here, let me read this. There are businesses suffering, and they're suffering who and now and what to expect, and show the right decisions. Cut off business with Russia for now, and it's right to be stopped. Sad for people in Russia, but these are the people who are suffering in Ukraine and losing their children. And that is correct. Somebody's going to have to lose on this point. Somebody's going to have to lose, and it might as well be the people. Hey, sorry, Sucks to be you, but no offense to the Russian people, but you picked him or he got appointed. When it comes to Mr. Putin. The other thing, God bless the people of Ukraine for fighting the basic human rights and community decency. Russian people should be the Russian people. You've been misled and harmed by the insane dictator who is harming your relatives and lying to you. The power of the people. Rise up, change the leadership, and stop the hatred and insanity and crimes against humanity. And that's well put, because this would allow people to understand and see what's going on. And people can read your notes and see how important it is for people to get this eventually. Rick, he's already trying to manipulate his own media in the world. Of course, he was in a public stage in the Moscow Square, some big stadium not too long ago, was on a couple of news channels, and he was given a speech and mysteriously he got cut off. So what does that tell you? The inner circle, Putin must lose confidence in. Of course, but they're scared. They're scared of losing their life. Unlike the people of Ukraine, you got people that are 70-something years old. They're creating Molotov cocktails, and they're talking, if they see Putin, they strangle him themselves. So what does that tell you? All due respect to the people from Russia, right, and the country, they've been socially ignorant by dictatorship, and we're seeing the real story of what's going on. I'm proud of the Russian immigrants who are living here in the United States. I have no disrespect to them, because I'm sure they're just as pissed as everybody else, because how is it that one guy decides to get a whole country involved because he feels, right? He feels that he wants to take over another country, which he failed to do in 2014, and then was able to take Crimea. Russian people are really good people. Some are family. We need to have another revolution. Well, that's a good point. But it's up for the Russian people to decide what's going on. But here it is. We're playing with diplomacy, right? And diplomacy is one thing that needs to be discussed and reviewed for a number of reasons. And people need to understand that diplomacy plays a significant part as far as our government is concerned. Well, how we view things in the United States is definitely viewed from different countries. And people need to understand that and respect that. And they need to understand that if we can't make any communications by that, then we're at a loss, because then we're at fault for not being open as a country. Terrence, people in Afghanistan are still correct. We have not, excuse me, I'm getting dry mouth because I'm speaking. Unlike the broadcasters, they have commercials, so they're going to have time to wipe their nose and drink some water. People in Afghanistan are still, of course, that's the forgotten war. That's a forgotten war. And if you think about it, Terrence, right? They were able to shut down Twitter and Facebook, and the Taliban was doing all kind of crazy things, and they've forgotten, because now this is a new flavor of the month, right? New flavor of the month is Ukraine, and how is that, and there's certain news that they're talking about everything else. Secretary of State Austin was on news today, and he was having the discussion, and he was pretty much, and I can respect him because he is the Secretary of State. So I'm not saying he doesn't know what is going on, but there's classified information that he's not willing to discuss to the media. But it pretty much, in a layman's terms, that Putin would be a fool to be able to start something that he can't finish, because he's just blinded by rage, blinded by selfishness, and is not opening his mind or his eyes to the repercussions that he's created. Maria, some people forget that Russia has a lot of people who have suffered too. Not everyone are bad people. Correct. And that's what I stated, but they can't do anything against their government. That is correct. That's why I say, if you watch the news lately, Russian governments, people protesting, they're getting hogtied, they're thrown in the vans, they're going to give them 10 to 15 years just for protesting. We can do that and we don't get arrested. The cops won't mess with us because it's freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. We can do a lot of things that we can do that other countries can't do. And this is why we're having this conversation, where people need to understand how important it is to communicate. People are forgetting how well we're doing here in the country. And when you look at other countries, you wonder why other countries despise us, because we take it for granted for what we have, and we really don't appreciate it until we lose it. Joseph, Unfortunately, the war is a profit cash cow, which is true. There's always cash cow involved for them. For those who will not speculate on humanity or consensus, as long as they exist, war and conflict will exist. That's true. And war is always going to be the cash cow to be able to generate profit one way or another. And that's why government contracts play with that as well. They need to know the truth, of course, Rick. And that's why it's important to need the truth for a number of reasons. And that's why we're having this conversation tonight. You know, I did this at a spur of the moment. I normally plan this out, but tomorrow I'll be on Facebook Live with another lady, Violeta Velez, who's a fellow Puerto Rican. She's doing it. And I'm having Ores. I don't want to butcher his name. It's like Forrest, but Ores. And he is a native Ukrainian that's out there in Ukraine right now. And he's a blogger, and he has specific action items that he can be able to explain to the general public that the media doesn't even explain to. So I don't think I'll be able to share that out. But if you want to tune in, feel free to do so, Mariel. For the reasons of organizations like Flanders Fields continue to work with Afghanistan people and U.S. allies. And yes, I've spoken to Matt McBee, and Flanders Field is a great organization that has been able to utilize that platform to reach out to the people from Afghanistan and the U.S. allies. And that's is very important. I agree with you. How could it be that his military is reaching to see the truth? Partly to show he sees some officers quit already. Well, to your point, right? Putin's one guy. About 14,000 Russian soldiers died. Or it's going on 15. That's higher than what we lost in 20 years in Afghanistan. So this tells you a couple of things, right? Largest army. There's no leadership skills. There's no leadership principles. There's no accountability. There's no morale. There's nothing personal development. It's pretty much a dictatorship. And the dictatorship shows you quite a few things. There's a number of flaws because they're being voluntold to do what they need to do. They're being pretty much go and fight this war. Go and kill your brother. Ukraine has stated that Russia and Ukraine were like brothers and sisters. How can you kill a brother and sister at the same time? Right? So when I speak about this type of content, it is important for everyone to understand that they can express their concerns. This is not commercialized, right? There's no sponsors. There's nothing like this that is going to censor you. Unless you do something stupid, then I won't allow it because I'll be watching the comments. But it is important for you to understand that this type of platform is needed for individuals to be able to express their concerns for a number of reasons. You know the value of freedom of speech. You know the value of freedom of expression. You know the value of freedom of religion. You know the value of freedom of to bear arms, right? And the value of freedom to protest publicly. Those are 5 action items that allows you to do that here in the United States. Other countries don't even have that. So that's why we're utilizing this platform to be able to reach to the masses as you reach out to me to support as well. Let me read this. If you really find a good comparison, look at what happens to the parts of Europe where so many refugees fled from places like Syria and such. Refugees with ideologies are dangerous mix. Correct. It has happened again. Many more refugees or ideologies are mixing in Europe. Prepare for uptick terrorism. The cycle begins. And you're right, Terrence. The cycle of terrorists and ideologies and thought process. That's why I am explaining to a lot of the American people, not only on LinkedIn Live, but Facebook, but on YouTube Live, to be able to understand that a lot of people don't think like us. Understand a lot of people don't like the way we think. They resent us. And this is a prime example of what's going on here with this war. You know, it takes 2 to fight a war, right? But who started it? Putin started it. You people from Ukraine have demonstrated their patriotism, has demonstrated their tenacity, how they've been able to overcome and improvise and kick ass like nobody else's business and leaving the whole world in awe. Even the newscasters are shocked that, the people of Ukraine are stopping the Russian army from taking over the capital, and they're not getting any type of support. Now we're giving them billions of dollars to support, and Stinger missiles and all type of weaponry that small arms that can be able to shoot down. But honestly, if you really look at it, the airspace is the biggest caveat that is pretty much attacking the Russian public, women and children. They're getting food. They're trying to cross. They're trying to get to Poland. And they're getting shot at. They're getting, mortar attacks. How do you explain that? How do you justify that? How do you justify that? And you have to understand the importance of it as well. And that's why we're having this type of platform. Again, I need to remind you, if you like this content, share it, like it, tag it. If you want to subscribe to this channel, please go to YouTube, subscribe to LinkedIn Perspective, make your comments known, make it viral. And then what you're witnessing right now is that we've been going on for over a little bit, hour and 10 minutes, and there's been no commercials. And we've been able to share everybody's comments. And this is what we call a true version of freedom of speech in a virtual town hall. My telephone number has been on there, and we were going to continue to do that. But I want to be able to share this with you, this final thought. As I wrap up here and this show today, as a patriot, as an American citizen, right? As a veteran, an advocate for veterans' rights, and continue to do leadership skills and personal growth, I implore you to be able to find in yourself some form of humanity that can make a difference, to give back to society, that should be able to help the people from Poland in a number of ways. People from Ukraine that are in Poland right now. And I think that by you donating or doing something serves a purpose for a number of reasons. This is my way of giving back by using the power of social media. And we need to be able to utilize that to a point where it should be significant and powerful. People keep on commenting, so let me read this again. So, yes, I think I read this. Let me read that. Poland has had a right to extend the no-fly zone to NATO, which is correct. Extend the no-fly zone incredibly to 5 to 10 miles at a time. Doesn't have it all or nothing. Incredible approach will do. Well, I agree with you, but we ain't doing anything. They're still getting bombarded, So pretty much it is. This comment right, in Germany, we live with many Russian people who we will now meet here as Ukrainians. How hope this will stay okay. Won't refugees in Afghanistan, but much of the good experience is a bad one. But terrorists is dangerous. I get what you're saying, and the important thing is this, right? We're all in this together, so it's important to, as I'm explaining to you, is to formulate a platform that I can explain to you and not use significant, powerful words, but pretty much to be able to express to you as a concerned citizen, as somebody, as a professional, to be able to, hey, you want to have a discussion? Let's talk a discussion. It's not my ways, it's your show to be able to share this. Let me see what Joe said. Thank you, Hiram, for allowing me to voice my opinion at times and make it possible. Anytime, bro. Once people become respectful, that's cool. I'm good with that. Understand me, the respect goes both ways. I'm not gonna shut you down and express, and you want to express your concern, providing that you respect the platform and providing that you follow the decorum of what's this show is all about, right? So for me, I put this is because I volunteered to do this. It helps me with my combat PTSD. It helps me articulate and engage with people in a virtual situation. It allows me to educate people and educate myself based on the content that is provided, not by the misinformation or the lack of information that is not provided, that gives people the peace of mind to be able to educate you as well. So as I stated, as I'm wrapping up, I want to personally thank everyone. Again, if you like this content, share it, like it, tag it, subscribe to LinkedIn Perspective, right? I want to be able to reach out there and make this a household name and utilize that for the veteran community that I continually support. I want to thank you. for everybody that's supporting me as well. But I want to make sure that veterans like myself can actually have a voice, and we're just as intelligent enough as politicians and statesmen to make common sense decisions for everything else that's actually going on, because it's people like yourselves should be always saying thank you for your service. Well, thank you for your service if you could do a number of things, but thank you for allowing us to be able to pour back into you as you pour back into me. It's important to understand the peace of mind and the freedom that you have right now, that is so important that you can't even believe or understand what it is to lose it. Let me use this last example. We were under a mask mandate for 3 years. How many people were pissed off in the United States after a year that they were sick and tired of being told what to do just because we were wearing a mask? Right? People were going to jail, losing their jobs, things of that nature. So can you imagine? We're pissed off on the mask, and look what's happening in Ukraine. I don't think a lot of you people are battle tested for this crap. You're not. You're not. A lot of people would fold. They'd probably commit suicide for a lot of stuff if we were in this stuff, because you wouldn't know how to act. So I leave you with that. So for that, I just want to, hey, thank you. I appreciate what you bring to the table. You bring it with a clear voice. I thank you. Pretty much respect is shown and shown. The respect has shown, and here is shown by Putin to President Zelensky. Well, we're going to see what's happening. So with that being said, simplify, always beside you. Again, I only focus on the content. I'll be doing another show tomorrow with Violeta Velez, a good friend of mine. She's Puerto Rican, and she has a bigger audience with the Latino community. We're talking Puerto Rican, Mexican, Cuban, all these people. And we have a guest from Ukraine, Otis, who's going to be able to speak from us live from Ukraine. And I don't know if I can put it on the Zoom, but we'll see what happens. But, think about it today, ladies and gentlemen. You're home. You're fine. I'm home. It's quiet. You don't hear any sirens. You don't hear any missiles. You don't hear people screaming. You don't hear bombing, right? You can go out and come in as you please. You can go shop. You can get gas. You can go out to eat, And, that's man. Well, I don't know, Maria. This is not my show. This is going to be Violet. She's going to be doing on Facebook, but I'll share you the link off site. Okay. So as I stated, you got it made, man. Trust me, you got it made. You got it made so good. It's like you should be ashamed of yourself that you got it made. We're close to being involved in this. This is my prediction. Unless something miraculous comes from God, that I pray for it to happen. But at the end of the day, we're in it and you don't even know it. We already provided a lot of military weaponry, some military transportation. There's military in Germany. We just lost 4 Marines in the exercise in the northern part of Norway. Look at that picture. Okay. So once again, Simplify, always beside you. Thank you for your time. Make your comments known. Appreciate it. Have a good night.